King Solomon, known as the wisest man who ever lived, was blessed by God with unmatched wisdom, staggering wealth, and immense power. But what really happened to this great king? How did a man so favored by God end his life in despair, regret, and spiritual ruin? Join us as we uncover the untold story of Solomon's last day, a day filled with reflections on his glory, his downfalls, and the tragic consequences of turning away from God. Discover how a king who had it all ended up saying, "Everything is meaningless," and what his story means for us today. What can we learn from his mistakes? How can we avoid the traps that led him astray? This story is not just about a king, it's about every one of us who has ever struggled with pride, temptation, and the pull of worldly desires. If you find this story eye-opening, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring more powerful biblical stories and life-changing lessons straight to you. We also encourage you to share your thoughts. What stood out to you most about Solomon's journey? Leave a comment below. We love hearing from our community. Don't forget to share this video with friends and family. These timeless lessons are meant to be shared. Now, let's dive into the final chapter of King Solomon's life and uncover the ultimate truth behind his rise, his fall, and the heartbreaking end of the wisest king of Israel. King Solomon began his reign with incredible promise. He was the son of David and Bathsheba, chosen by God to ascend the throne of Israel. From the start, his journey was marked by divine favor and guidance. In 1 Kings 3 verse 5, we read that the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream at Gibeon, saying, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Instead of requesting wealth, long life, or victory over his enemies, Solomon humbly asked for wisdom. "Give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, that I may discern between good and evil." God was pleased with his request. In 1 Kings 3 verses 10 to 14, he not only granted Solomon unparalleled wisdom, but also promised him riches, honor, and a long life, on the condition that Solomon remained faithful to God's commands. Solomon's wisdom was soon tested. Two women came before him, both claiming to be the mother of the same child. In 1 Kings 3 verses 16 to 28, Solomon suggested dividing the living child in two, knowing the real mother would rather give up her claim than see her son harmed. The people of Israel marveled at his wisdom, realizing that God's wisdom was truly upon their king. Solomon's fame spread far and wide. 1 Kings 4 verses 29 to 30 states, "God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than all the wisdom of Egypt and the East." He wrote 3,000 proverbs and over 1,000 songs, covering themes of life, nature, leadership, and faith. His wisdom even attracted the attention of the Queen of Sheba. She traveled from afar to test his knowledge with hard questions. In 1 Kings 10, verses 6 to 7, she declared, "Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth you have far exceeded the report I heard." But Solomon's most significant achievement was the construction of the temple in Jerusalem. Described in 1 Kings 6, it was built with the finest materials, cedar from Lebanon, gold, silver, and bronze. It took 7 years to complete and became the spiritual center of Israel. When the temple was finished, Solomon led a powerful prayer of dedication, acknowledging God's greatness and asking him to hear the prayers of his people. Under Solomon's rule, Israel reached unprecedented heights of wealth, power, and influence. 1 Kings 10 verses 23 to 24 records, "King Solomon was greater in riches and wisdom than all the other kings of the earth. The whole world sought audience with Solomon to hear the wisdom God had put in his heart." Yet with immense wealth came temptation. Solomon formed alliances with surrounding nations, sealed through marriage. 1 Kings 11 verses 1 to 2 warns that he loved many foreign women, Moabites, Ammonites, Sidonians, and Hittites, nations God had warned against intermarrying with, for they would lead Israel astray. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines, and their influence led him into idolatry. 1 Kings 11 verse 4 states, "As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord. He built altars for foreign deities like Ashtoreth, Chemosh, and Molech, direct violations of God's commands." God had warned him twice, but Solomon's heart remained hardened. Finally, in 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 11, God declared, "Since you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, I will tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates." However, for the sake of David, this punishment would not occur in Solomon's lifetime, but would be carried out through his son Rehoboam. The once glorious kingdom of Israel was now on the path to division and strife. In 1 Kings chapter 11 verses 29 to 31, the prophet Ahijah met Jeroboam, one of Solomon's officials, and symbolically tore a cloak into 12 pieces, giving 10 to Jeroboam, foreshadowing the coming split of Israel. On his last day, Solomon, once the wisest and wealthiest man on earth, sat in his palace reflecting on his life. His kingdom had flourished, his wisdom had astounded nations, and his wealth was unmatched. Yet his final moments were marked not by triumph, but by deep regret. His reflections are captured in Ecclesiastes. In Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 2, he laments, "Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless." He had pursued wealth, pleasure, and power, but found them all empty. In Ecclesiastes chapter 2 verses 10 to 11, he confessed, "I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind." Despite his wisdom, Solomon had strayed. His many marriages and alliances led him away from God. In Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6, he had once advised, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding," yet he had failed to follow his own wisdom. In his final words, he gives one last piece of advice in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 13. "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." He had learned too late that true fulfillment comes from obedience to God. Solomon's final day was a reminder that no amount of wisdom, wealth, or power can replace a heart devoted to God. His story is a sobering lesson on the importance of staying faithful. His final words echo through time, "Fear God and keep his commandments." It's not how you start, but how you finish that matters. May we learn from Solomon's mistakes and remain faithful to God until the very end. Thank you for watching. If you found this video enlightening, please like, subscribe, and share. True wisdom comes from following God with all your heart, mind, and soul.